Welcome everybody, I'm Pastor Bill and this is Fixing Things. Hopefully. Why do I say hopefully? Because this carburetor on my F600 truck, the me-haul truck, it's been giving me some issues. You know, and what I found out all along, there was nothing wrong with the carburetor. It didn't need to be rebuilt. Well, I take that back. When I did open it up, the accelerator pump was dried and it probably would have started failing soon. It ended up, the reason why it was not throttling up is because the governor was not getting something correct on it, whether it be the vacuum coming back from the distributor. So the way it works is the carburetor pulls vacuum through the distributor, and there's some valves or something up inside the distributor, and when it gets to a certain RPM, it pulls vacuum on the a diaphragm that goes down to the throttle on the governor on the side of the carburetor. And when that thing sees vacuum, it turns the throttle off. So what was happening was the throttle was being turned off. So if I'm reading this correctly, if I just delete the vacuum line altogether that goes to the distributor and put a cap on it, it should start working without the governor. But the problem is, either me 20-something years ago, maybe 30 years ago, put a rebuild kit on that carburetor, and I possibly almost stripped out the carburetor, or I did strip out one of the screws on, I'll post it right here, a screw on the accelerator pump. And I don't want to put it together or cheesy fix it. I may do something like that for another episode and hot rod that carburetor up for the Pinto or something like that. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I don't want to put that carburetor back on. So I found a rebuilt carburetor that's been sitting on a shelf for 20 years. Yep, sitting on a shelf for 20 years. And I got it sitting right back here in a box. So this thing looks like it's brand new. Except for, you can tell it was a used carburetor. The base plate has, you know, where they didn't completely clean it, but everything else looks, it was remanufactured by Ford. So back in the day, you would take your carburetor off your vehicle, take it over to Ford, and they would give you a when they would give you a core charge for your old carburetor. They would take it back and rebuild the carburetor, then sell it to the next guy that came along. So it should be to factory specs, and it shouldn't have all that too many miles on it. And I searched internet thoroughly for the model, the carburetor, and everything else, and I accidentally stumbled across this carburetor, and it was only $43, where almost every carburetor that was usable was way up over $250 to $300 that would fit this truck. So I snagged it up, because I could have just fixed that bowl and put it back on, but when I seen the price of the carburetor, that's going to give me a spare carburetor, if not. So, and if anything, I could just take the float bowl off of that carburetor and put it on my carburetor, and it should work. And I just rebuilt that carburetor. I know it's right. This isn't my first rodeo on carburetors. I tend to take my time on carburetors, even though it might not look like it on my video, because when you don't take your time, haste makes waste. So we're going to put that carburetor on this truck. I mean, just put it on, just flat out put it on and see if it works. Just flat out put it on. I mean, flat out put it on. Flat out put it on. Flat out put it on. So let's get with it. So I want to show you the carburetor. This is exactly how I got it. I just put it back in the box after I opened it. So here it is. This thing was remanufactured by Ford. So if you notice the throttle, listen. So remember, my carburetor had two very heavy double springs, and that holds the throttle closed because there's a lot of tension. Look, the throttle does not move. See that? But now it moves. So what happens is, if I go to full throttle, right? If I go to full throttle with my thing, when the vacuum says in that distributor you're going too fast, it shuts it off, and you have no throttle. That's what was happening. For some reason, the passageway in my distributor was wide open. So we're going to attempt to fix it today. And we're going to put this carburetor on in its place. It got some dust on it. And look at it, it's nice. It's got a vacuum thing here. This is the exact same carburetor. Exact same carburetor. Except mine, I don't know if mine's got that one or not. I think it does. It's the exact same carburetor. So if you haven't seen the generator, the Hercules generator first startup, I am encouraging you to go look at it. It was fairly miraculous. I mean, it started, this thing hasn't been started in probably just as long as this truck, and it literally started right up. I mean, once we got the points running and we figured out how the electric fuel pump is supposed to be working, what it runs off of. I mean, it was actually just a wire nut that needed to be hooked up to it. So we put a wire nut on it, and it's recorded right on a thing. Almost instantaneous, because it primes itself with the electric fuel pump. Almost instantaneously, it fired right up. I mean, years of not running. I better get those springs first. My double barrel springs. Choke's got to come off. The choke, man, that was the worst thing, hooking it up, because it's got to go through this little clampy thingy in the backy. It comes out easy, and you can't get the back carburetor screw bolt out without the choke. Alright, this time I'm going to make sure I don't lose the bolt. Okay, this time just the nut came off of that one. That one, just the nut came off too, which is surprising because the studs and all came out last time. Alright, there are a few differences. There's a nub here, and if I remember right, this is what you use to pry up the carburetor to get it out. That's all that is. And there's a couple chambers are the same, and then one chamber is missing off my new carburetor. But all my rubbers, all my little things, they look great on this. But we have an issue. We're missing a couple things. So here's the original one. Here's this one. The only way to get these off is you got to take it off. The good thing is I got brand new gaskets. So I'm going to start with this first. Let's get the easy stuff out of the way first. This is the vacuum that controls the governor. It's getting vacuum because it's shutting it off. Because the throttle works when there's no vacuum present. Alright, that's swapped over. We got to get this piece off. Here goes nothing. At least we'll see what the condition is of the inside of the carburetor. That one was like loose. And I do have all the little gaskets that go with this too. They look good. Sorry, we gotta take the pressure off of the throttle. Oh man, things like brand new inside. They say if that line points towards that, that it's right, then you can make a slight adjustment. But they say most of the time you don't have to. So when you turn it upside down, and if this line point towards that hole, which it does, then you may only have to adjust this slightly. They say 9 times out of 10 you don't have to. And the gasket looks brand new. Alright, let's attempt to get the don't break gasket. Everything looks like brand new. Everything. Gasket's in good shape. Let me put my old man glasses on. Why don't you change the jets and all that? That's like brand new. Now I'm not throwing away this carburetor. I got some plans. I got some plans for it. I got some of the parts in for one of my other projects. And that is turning this one into a tilt front end. You shouldn't do that, Pastor Bill. You'll ruin your truck. It's my truck. Then you should give it to me. I'll treat your truck good. This is the hardest one to get on. Oh, got it first time. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I still need a little more thread. Don't like it. Don't like it, Sam. I am. I don't like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I am. I do not like having no threads on my boat. I do not like it that way. I think I gotta use that little shorty screwdriver. I mean, wrench. I think that's how I did it last time. Yep. That's how I did it. Last check on this one here. Yep. The hard thing is the choke. That's enough to make a grown man cry. Grown man cry. Come on, right up in there, baby. Lord be with me. Come on up in. This takes 9 quarts of engine oil. I think I only bought 1 gallon. So I think I got to run out and get another gallon. Alright. Okay. All left. So we got the carburetor on. There's no way to know what the settings are going to do. So I say we prime the carburetor up, hook the battery on, turn the ignition on, and see if it'll start. Carburetor primed. Battery hooked up. Go turn the ignition switch on. Get all the stuff that's going to get caught in the fan out of here. Secondary ignition switch, check. Grab primer bottle in hand, check. Clear prop. I think we'll try a choke. Oh, it's doing more than what it was doing. All right. I think we got to turn the idle up a little bit. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. My was hitting the fan. All right, take two. Definitely looks flooded. But it's trying. Let me try turning the idle up some more, because I got a problem. I'm sure the air fuel mixture is not correct on it. Right. It's getting dangerous. I got to take the junk off the motor so it don't fall into the motor. Alright, just for giggles, I went over to the other carburetor and I checked the air screws on the back of the carburetor. And they only were 3/4 of a turn out. These were almost 2.5 turns. So it was probably trying to get too much air at idle. So I adjusted these all the way in, just finger touch, and then backed them out 3/4 to 1 turn approximately, because I couldn't see them. And let's see what happens. Alright, the carburetor's working. It's got a miss in it now. Didn't have a miss in it before. I'm pretty sure I done, with the screws all out of adjustment at first. Not only that, the PVC valve is stuck semi-open, semi-closed. I'll take that off and clean it. That's not a problem. But that carburetor's working. Everything's working on it. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. I can mess with the air screw. Once I get the idle when it's not missing, then it should clean right out. I'll probably get some sea foam and do a Italian tune-up, like Mr. Derek says. It just goes to show you, carburetors are, not only that, I must have been in a hurry, because I don't know if you can see that or not. I see all that gook and grime right there. And my air screw mixture holes are on that side. I didn't even clean the bottom plate where the idle mixture and all that stuff was. But it wasn't throttling. It should have at least throttled. And it was idling, so. All right, so the carburetor is now working. Once I clean up the backfiring is because the cylinder is dropping in and out somewhere. It could be maybe a sticky valve a little bit or something. But I'll put an Italian tune-up in it, and we're getting ready to change the oil. I'm gonna see if I can't find that other a gallon of engine oil. Excuse me. And we'll get the oil changed in this thing. It hasn't been changed in 20-something years. And back then, my funds were tight. I would let this thing probably run 10 to 20,000 miles before it needed an oil change. So it's time for an oil change. So what's it doing now? Let's check. So I went to AutoZone and I got me some more oil and I changed the oil in it. I let the motor cool completely down, and let's see what this thing will do. Let's see if this thing will start. Let's see if this carburetor is working. Let's see if I adjusted it correct. All right. Let's see. All right. So all we're going to do is turn the key. Notice the temperature gauge still got a little bit of warmth in it. Give it a little pump on the pedal. Now before it would not accelerate. This thing's accelerating awesome now. Still got to do some tuning. Oil pressure is way up there now compared to what it was. That oil was kind of thin. Not only that, it was low in oil. But I don't want to run it long. I don't have it's already starting to pick up on the other cylinders. I took off the fan belts, went up there and got me some new fan belts. So let me go ahead and cut this thing off. Check out my eye. She runs good. Listen. Happy man. So the carburetor that was rebuilt 20 years ago sat on the guy's shelf. He didn't even know what it was to. And when I seen it, I knew it immediately what it was to. I put it on here, had to do a little bit of tweaking on it, got some air adjustment on it, and then adjusted the, you got to kind of mess with the idle, do the air, mess with the idle, do the air, and next thing you know, you got it set, and it accelerates and everything good. I probably got to tweak on the accelerator pump a little bit. Has a slight hesitation, but it wasn't even warm. Plus, I don't want to run it too long, and then got the water pump belts on it. Plus I'm going to order a brand new water pump. This water pump is leaking. So we're going to order a brand new water pump, and next week, if it gets here in time, we'll do that. You know something? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God bless you.